Hello everyone. So this is a bit of a different video. Hold on, give me a second. It's the first time I'm doing a video like this. Alright. So first rule of business, if you're wondering why my cheeks are red like this, I was on VR. Secondly, I just finished JoJo. I didn't think I was ever gonna watch a JoJo. Originally, I saw JoJo. I knew about it. I saw the memes, and just I didn't know much about the story or anything like that. The characters' names. I'm like, oh yeah, that's that character from JoJo. One of my friends, the Crab King, he got me into it. I didn't think I would ever watch JoJo because I didn't really. At first, I didn't like the art style. I was kind of iffy on it. It was the same scenario for me with One Piece. I didn't know how to feel about the art style. Then I gave it a chance and I fell in love with it. First off, JoJo is one of the best animes I've ever watched. Granted, there are some shitty parts. But what anime doesn't have shitty parts or like a shitty season or two? Every good anime has one of those, you know. So in this video, we are going to be talking about what I thought about JoJo in each part. I did not watch the movies because I was told that the movies were not canon from research. So I just watched the main storyline of what's animated currently. I do know some stuff that's not animated, like Jesus Christ being a stand. Because that's a thing that can happen. So before I get into it, if you have not watched JoJo, um, and you were planning on it, click off the video now because we're getting in the spoiler territory. You may say, but Cameron, you already did. You said Jesus Christ was a stand. That's not going to be animated for a while. That is, and I'm sure you've seen it in memes before. If you haven't, I'll be very surprised. But actual show territory, we are getting in the spoiler territory. We're gonna say what part is what. So first, we're gonna start off with part one. We're gonna make our way up to part six, and then we'll give you a warning. So if you want to watch it, but you're not like fully caught up, I'll let you guys know. So the starting of JoJo, part one. One of the most boring parts, according to the community. I didn't really think so. The whole setup of part one is kind of important. A lot of people say you have to skip it. I say you could. You could. Um, I wouldn't recommend doing it because part one recommends it shows Dio first getting introduced and the starting of the whole bloodline Joestars versus Dio trying to, get rid of the Joestars. That's kind of it's the starting of it. And it shows how it started, what Dio did, how he started off as a villain. So I would definitely watch that if you want more character development, but that's pretty much all the season is. Primarily is just setting it up and character development. I believe it's 12 episodes. I'm not 100% sure. I know it was relatively short compared to the other seasons, but I did enjoy it. I think my favorite character from that part is honestly probably Joseph. Joseph was part two. Oh, the first Joestar. We'll just go with JoJo for now. Because I'm having a brain fart. Part two. This is when we meet Joseph Joestar, Jotaro's grandfather. This is before he's an old man. This is when he is around Jotaro's age. He's a kid. His best friend not Seizure. I know motherfucker is. He died out. He died worse than that. Part two. We got the first, I guess, group of characters. And this consists of, from memory, Joseph, Caesar, and the trainer. The lady that trains them. I think her name is Miss something. I'm not awake right now. I'm recording this at 12:28 at night. So excuse me if I don't know the characters' names. Um, she's hot. Uh, Point is, hot lady. Badass. Kind of a dick though. There's a whole training arc. This kind of, again, it's an introductory season. It introduces Joseph's backstory, and you get to basically know him and learn more of him as a character than what you would just by skipping part one and part two, which part two is another one of the more boring parts. But it's definitely better than part one, at least my personal preference. Caesar, no, this is a big spoiler coming up. Caesar does die, and this causes a lot of issues for Joseph. Because his best friend is dead. He gets crushed by roof, like the roof caves in the um shape of a cross, and it's just genuinely insane. And motherfucker, there's no remains of him either. It's just blood. And they're fighting these guys. I did leave out the Pillar Men from part one. The Pillar Men, they're kind of there. I think they are part two. I think they're the starting of part two. But there's like these Roman Colosseum or like these Greek god-ish characters, and they put rings on Joseph, and what that does is it attached, like, I think it was his lung, his heart, like certain arteries in his chest that if they got damaged, he would be guaranteed to die, and they had poisonous rings around them. And in order to get those rings off in a certain deadline, he would have to battle them and win the battle and kill them by this certain amount of time. Otherwise, he would die. And he succeeds because, he's in part three. This gives, like I said, this part two, it gives a lot more to Joseph's character than just being um, an old guy. So I would definitely recommend watching it because Joseph, all in all, he's a good character. I would recommend watching all the parts, even the parts that, you technically could skip, because you do get closer to the characters that way, and you learn a little bit more about the story. Not many important things, but there are some that I would definitely recommend watching just, to be safe. Part two, part one, I'd probably give a 7 out of 10. Maybe lowest is a 6, just because almost every other part is better. Part two, 7, just a dead 7. Maybe a 6.5, so a little higher than part one. Now we're getting to part three. Oh! Oh my gosh. There's also, it's not just stands. There's, in the early days, before we get to part three, in the early days, there's, they have like this energy called, not Hikari. What, oh my gosh, what was it called? Because this is really important. Hockey. No, that's One Piece. That's one. Oh, what's? Because this is really important. What's the energy in JoJo? Not Ripple. It's Joseph's Joestar's power. I gotta find it. What was the thing in JoJo they used to fight before stands existed? Because this was before stands even. Hamon. Hamon. And what Hamon is, it's basically like an energy. It's kind of like hockey, but it's a little different. and only certain people could channel it. Um, if they're of a certain heritage. I hear in my mouth, but it was pretty cool concept. And this was before stands were even a thing. Then part 3 is when stands come into play. All right, you listening? You pay attention, okay? Pay attention to the rocktopus. All right. So, part 3, stands. Starts off with Jotaro in jail. That's right. Yeah, he's in jail. He's locked up. Huh? But isn't Jotaro the hero? Yes, but there's a reason he's locked up. And that reason is because he discovered his stand ability. He thought it was a demon, so he locked himself up so he wouldn't hurt anyone anymore because it was uncontrollable at the time, at least from what we can tell. Um, Over time, he gets stronger and he just kind of randomly gets control of it, but it seemed like he didn't really have control of it when it first activated, but he was able to get control of it relatively quick. And this is under his stand, known as Star Platinum. One of the strongest fucking stands in the show. Oh my gosh. And we're going to get into that because his stand is actually insane. It's already strong at base. It's a close range fighter stand, 2 meters is its max. Stands have ranges. He punches hard. Very hard. Um, Joseph goes to get Jotaro. And the reason he does this is because he's getting him out of jail. He's like, come on, get out of there. It's like he won't get out of the cell. He won't leave. His sentence is up. He's like, nah, I'm staying in here so I don't hurt anyone. And like Jotaro, he meant well by it. Joseph, brought in Avdol. He's the first new character we meet. Avdol. I love Avdol. We love Avdol. We love Avdol. Avdol. We love him. Avdol's awesome. Red Hot Chili Pepper is his stand. It is a bird that breathes fire. Awesome. Joseph Joestar, he does get a stand called Hermit Purple. It does have a design from what I think, but throughout the show, it's primarily just purple vines with spikes on them. And Hermit Purple's pretty cool. Hermit Purple can basically, it allows him to swing like Spider-Man, which he only does once. It can like channel electricity and like spy on people through it. Enter brain waves, just like frequencies and stuff. It's complicated. It's very hard to explain. Hermit Purple's more of one of the stands that you're actually gonna have to watch the show or watch like a genuine documentary to understand how Hermit Purple works. Because as someone who has just finished Jojo and just got into it, I binged it. It's kind of hard to explain. Then I believe we meet Kakyoin next. Kakyoin, Jotaro's best friend. Originally was going to be his competition, his enemy. For some reason, that didn't happen. Kakyoin, his stand is Hierophant Green. It shoots diamonds or emeralds or like little rock things. I don't know. It shoots stuff. It has Mr. Fantastic abilities. It can stretch at its will, no matter like whatever it wants to. It's pretty cool. That doesn't sound all that cool, I know, but the stuff they do in the show with it, they get creative. A good example was they used it to shrink down the enter. Wait, no, that wasn't him. Wait, was it? No, it was not. Point is, it comes in handy a lot. Part 3 is very long. A lot of stuff happens in part 3. A lot. It is so peak. We go from stand users, which the stand users are based off tarot cards in this. So then we meet Polmerath. Polmerath is Jean-Pierre Polmerath. He is French. Favorite stand in the show! Silver Chariot. It is a knight that is super fucking quick. And when it takes off its clothes, it's even quicker. For context, if he takes off his armor, he becomes even quicker. The armor is like weighing him down, and he doesn't have to be that close to you either. He's like a mid-range stand. Oh, and it's a jousting sword. So if you get hit by it, you're getting stabbed. And then I think the final character we get introduced to in the main group is Iggy. We love Iggy. Iggy's great. He's a dog. Think of Rottweiler or Pug. I'm not sure what dog. I know it's in that field of breed. Chihuahua maybe. It might be a Chihuahua. I'm not sure. Point is Iggy and his fugly mug. Because, oh my gosh, it's a dog with a human face, by the way. He's funny as shit, though. He hates Polmerath. They become friends. You know, they become good friends. But, like, literally, I think the first interaction with them was Iggy farting on Polmerath's face and biting his hair. You know, classic dog stuff. Iggy's favorite food is, coffee-flavored gum. And he just kind of likes to sit there and chew it. His stand is made out of sand. It's like a giant bird creature thing. I'm not really sure what it is, but it can again just I think it's wind based. That's what I believe. I think it is wind based. But it's pretty cool nonetheless. Then we're gonna get into the actual characters. All right. So number 1, Jotaro, his story. Character development, saving his sister, because his sister, this is the main story of the whole thing, his sister, or not sister, wait, whoa, hold on. Let me fact check. I don't think it's his sister. Yeah, she's the daughter of Joseph. That is the mother of Jotaro. That is, okay. We ain't doing none of that. Sweet home Alabama. Alright, so he's trying to save his mother because his mother's sick. Dio planted this seed thing in her that is making her sick. And because she can't develop a stand power, she's dying. So Joseph and Jotaro go on a journey with these people, and you know they end up saving her eventually. That's the story of part 3. They go through their hardships after the tarot cards. You think that's done? We defeated all the tarot cards! Yay! Wrong. If you thought that was it, no. You were mistaken. Because Dio gets an arrow. This arrow, whoever he shoots, that shit gives them a stand if they have potential in their soul. He uses it a little bit, not a lot. It does become important in part 4, like majorly. No, instead he gets the Greek gods. The literal Greek gods. This includes Anubis, the god of death. Jotaro's group? Nah, they win. Everything's going smooth. Little side episode of Iggy being chased down by a hawk when he finds Dio's lair finally, because they're on the search for his lair. They get closer and closer. The threats get bigger because apparently his henchmen are stronger than Greek gods. So they get there, defeat the first one, blah blah blah. Go in, defeat the first one. Once we get here, they go through hardships. Polmareth turns into a kid. And this lady takes him in. He comes back to normal eventually, though. There's this whole thing with, again, Polmareth. He gets his nose picked by this guy named Whole Horse. Whole Horse is kind of just the lackey. That's like the comedic. He just kind of keeps coming back, but he's easily defeated. Polmareth wasn't always an ally. He was originally a villain, and then, they became allies. Same with Kakyoin, but they got the seed out of his head that if he betrayed Dio, Dio would activate it and it would kill him. They got that out of his head, so Kakyoin could get revenge on Dio for what he did. When they finally get to the lair, soon as they get in, they get separated. Jotaro, Joseph, and Kakyoin are in another dimension fighting this guy that likes video games. If they lose the video game, he turns their souls into dolls. This is the brother of another guy who did this, but it was gambling with coins. Except he plays dress up with you and, like, touches you. It's weird. This guy's weird. They do defeat the guy, Jotaro, because the guy, he was able to read minds, so we could tell if someone was cheating or not. And this, where the meme comes from, the no, 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 no. I can't tell what he's saying. Yes, 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 yes. Did you cheat? Yes, 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 yes. Are you telling the truth? No, 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 no. And he, like, actually loses his shit and ends up forfeiting because he got scared of Jotaro, so... Jotaro. Jotaro sends him flying through the fucking roof with Star Platinum. Star Platinum gets a whole nother, like, strategy, abilities, like breaking through metal, just punching so quick that you just can't block it, blocking bullets, like punching bullets away. Ton of cool shit. And then we cut back to Avdol, Iggy, and Polmareth. This is where it gets fucked. Where it gets fucked. Avdol's dead. Yeah. Soon as they go in, Void guy, mouth, skeleton demon thing, void in its mouth. Bites off a fucking half of Polmareth. Only thing left, I think, was his arm. And then it ate his arm after. Little snack. Little dessert snack. Yeah, motherfucker was hungry. Avdol's gone. Right before they went in there, Avdol said, Polmareth. Oh. Okay. Right after they went in there, right before they went in there, Polmareth and Iggy were listening to Avdol, and Avdol said, "Oh, now remember, I'm not going to protect you, because once we go in there, it's every man for themselves." Avdol wouldn't be the first time he died. He dies in the series. He gets shot. Whole Horse shoots him. In reality, he's not dead. He was just in hiding. Everyone knew but Polmareth, and Polmareth was really upset because he thought it was his fault. They let him think that for the longest time. Even played a prank on him, like saw Avdol. Avdol was dressed as his father. Polmareth believed it was his father, and then when Polmareth was about to die because he found a genie, this is also in the past, by the way. He wished, for money, just average stuff you would expect for Wish for. Polmareth lost his sister at a young age. This guy took his, only family. So he wished for his sister back, but the genie, one of those bullshit genies, where you have to be very specific, she came back. She came back all right, but she was a zombie. And the only way for her to heal was to eat Polmareth. His own sister, started eating him alive. Polnareff didn't have a choice. He had to kill his sister again. He was struggling to do it, and I don't blame him. Luckily, Avdol's bitch ass swooped in. Birdie! And killed her. Saved Polnareff. Fought the genie. They won. But when they go in there, despite all their connections, Avdol's like, I'm not saving you. Soon as they go in there, he saves them. Unconsciously, he saves them. They would have all died if he didn't push them out of the way. Polnareff and Iggy were both... Iggy was terrified. Polnareff was upset. Like, damn it, you said you wouldn't save me. Why? It should have been me. Because Polnareff throughout all this shit, even like when he's alone, there's a ton of episodes while he's by himself, or just while he's by himself, and he deals with like some of these strongest stands by himself, and he has no help. He always gets the short end of the stick. He literally never gets a break, ever. He had to fight Anubis by himself. Keep in mind, he won the first time. The only reason he didn't win the second time is because once you fight Anubis once, he automatically knows all of your attacks. Still, regardless, he managed to beat someone who could see the future just because. He also beat like a demon Chucky doll by himself and some guy that kept aging him and speeding up his like body's time to in reverse to where he would have like if he stayed in the guy's shadow long enough, he would have just become a fetus and suffocated. Polnareff got some scary shit. But then, whole thing goes down. They kill the guy. But boy, oh boy, do they struggle to kill this motherfucker. Because this guy is so strong. His name's Vanilla Ice. One of the best villains in the show. Oh my gosh. Oh. Okay. So, we're going to talk to him. He's a loyal servant to Dio. Alright? And after this, he chases him down. Polnareff fights him a few times, gets away. He's like, we gotta get out of here. Let's get the fuck out of here, Iggy. They get out of here. They're trying to find Dio as quick as possible. And they think of a trick. After they got their ass whooped. Absolutely whooped. Iggy goes, if I can make anything out of sand, why don't I make Dio? This is where it gets interesting. Dio comes down the stairs. And you don't know it's Dio at the time. You have no fucking idea. Because this is the first time Iggy does this shit. And you're like, oh no. Polnareff is screwed. My boy. The best character in part 3. Objectively. Come on. Well, actually, all the characters are equal. Best stand, in my opinion. All the characters in part 3 are great. All of them are great. I love the part 3 cast so much. And turns out the guy figures out it was Iggy because when he accidentally hits him, I think he like dissolves or something happens that makes him dissolve. And he figures out Iggy was fucking with him. And the guy ended up hitting Dio, killing him. And he got offended by this because he's like, how dare you? How dare you make me kill a replica of Dio's perfect image? And like he was genuinely affected by it. Like he was so fucking pissed. And this is where he turns into a fucking ball. A ball. A black hole ball. That's slowly rolling around Polnareff and Iggy till it gets closer and closer until it just evaporates them. Right before that, to disrespect Iggy, he says, Polnareff, you're gonna wait, because Polnareff's gonna move. He's injured enough. He kicks Iggy to death. I'm not even joking. This little tiny little dog gets kicked to death. Kicked up against the wall. Whining, crying. Kicked. Over and over. To the point, he's not dead, but to the point where his ribs are stabbing into him. And he thinks Iggy's dead. So he goes to, slowly kill Polmarath with spinny thing. Polnareff's like, I gotta get out of here, otherwise I'm gonna be dust. He tries to get out. He doesn't have enough energy to. Luckily, Iggy used his last energy to save Polmarath. Makes like a little barrier around Polmarath, so the guy couldn't hit him. Because anything he touches, he basically made a barrier around him and like sucked him up to the roof. Last second, the episode ends off with Polmarath. It looks like he dies because the light goes behind him and he's like, sorry, sorry. And that shit had me tearing up. Dude, oh my gosh. And then the next episode starts, he's on the roof, and Polmarath yells, Iggy! And Iggy drops dead, coughs up a shit ton of blood. He's like, don't do this to yourself. Your ribs, you can still heal. Your ribs are gonna stab into you. And he saves Polmarath at the cost of taking his own life because his ribs stabs into his vital organs. Iggy ends up dying. Polmarath does end up avenging the Iggy and killing the guy. And then it's down to Tatooine, Joseph Joestar, Jotaro, and Polmarath. Both Avdol and Iggy are dead. Throughout this, they finally find Dio. And oh my gosh, Dio is already way past strong. There's scenes where Dio beats the shit out of Jotaro. Jotaro had to stop his own heart with Star Platinum. Yeah, that's something he could do. He could just reach into his soul, squeeze his heart. He stopped his heart because there's a scene where he's like, Joestars do have a tendency of coming back. So let me see and check his pulse. Jotaro kills himself, and then quickly, when he stops checking his pulse, shakes his heart, shakes it. He shakes it, and it gets pumping again. It gets pumping. Like nothing happened. Dio obviously is fucking terrified at this sight. Polmarath is nowhere really to be found in the final fight. He's there, but he's primarily being more of a lookout, hiding. He's healing up from the injuries and the wounds. He wasn't in the condition to fight. Joseph Joestar tries to pursue Dio by himself because he was able to keep up with Dio. So was Jotaro. Jotaro could fly now. He could fly now. Huh? But yeah. So that's a thing that happens. And Dio, it's too late. It's too late. Dio stops time. Stops time completely. Ton of forks, knives around Joseph. All stab into him. Jotaro was able to deflect him a few times, but eventually he wasn't able to because he was too far. He was out of Dio's range. Or out of his own range. And this caused a big issue because Joseph dies. Or at least you think he's dead. He does come back. He does physically die though. At the end of the battle, Jotaro brings his body back to the Speedwagon Foundation, and he's able to give Dio's blood and DNA, I guess, to Joseph, which was able to bring him back to life, or refill his body with the blood he needed. So Joseph does live. So does Polmarath for this part. For this part, keep in mind. Jotaro does live for this part. Tatooine, ultimate sacrifice. He made a whole web to sense Dio coming. It didn't work because when Dio stopped time, he was able to maneuver around it, and he punched a hole through Kakyoin's chest. And this is toward the end of the battle. They have no idea how to beat him. No idea. Joseph's death happens, I believe, right before this. Because he was trying to tell Jotaro how to stop Dio. Because Kakyoin and Joseph knew. Dio would not let them. Kakyoin... No, wait, no, Joseph was alive during this. Yeah, so it was after he died. So yeah, so Kakyoin gets a hole punched through his stomach, like a genuine big-ass gaping hole, launched into a water tower, and he uses his last bit of energy to break the Big Ben, the clock. And that hint gave them the hint, and they understood it. Dio's stand ability, because they went in blind, they don't know what his stand ability was. It was to control time. As Joseph Joestar would say, "Oh my god! His stand ability is to control time! Jotaro, get out of here!" Yeah, but... So they run. Again, I don't fucking blame them. Who wouldn't? They don't have a chance. Or so they think, because Jotaro, during the fight, gets so mad, it awakens a new part of his soul that allows him to control time also, but only for a few seconds. And this does mean he can move in Dio's time stop, but only for 1 second. Throughout the episodes, it goes 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, 4 second. His max was a total of 5 seconds. Which, oh boy, did he use to his fucking advantage. They realized they weren't going to be able to kill Dio themselves, so they just needed to keep him distracted enough and get him, I guess, like, injured enough to where he couldn't run away, so they could keep him in the sun, because Dio's a vampire. And they did that, and it worked. Dio's dead. Dio won. They won. They're safe. Kakyoin, dead. Polmarath, alive, but severely injured. Joseph, dead, but he comes back at the final episode. Jotaro, alive, but severely injured. Iggy, dead. Avdol doesn't actually physically exist anymore. Part 4. Now, Part 4 has very mixed opinions on whether it's a good season or a shit season. So does Part 5 and Part 6. I've heard more things good about Part 6 than bad, though. Part 4, though, is when we meet Josuke. I'm not going to go over the full group in Part 4, just the main ones you follow for most of the time, because this group is the biggest group out of all of them currently in the actual show. I believe there's like 12 or 14 different characters in the main cast. It is actually fucking huge. There's a ballerina, like, beauty lady. There's a random ass kid that looks like a fucking lizard. His stand's pretty cool though. Not really that much of an important stand though, or important character. He was more kind of there. Rest in peace though. He does die. So does the ballerina lady. Ghost Girl, she's already dead because she was murdered when she was little by the main villain, the murderer, Yoshikage Kira, another really fucking good villain. Oh my gosh, Yoshikage Kira. He's a serial killer. He prefers killing women over men, but in reality, he just wants to live a peaceful life. He just wants to cover up what he did and live a peaceful life. But the urge of murder is constantly growing on him. And that comes into big consequences. Josuke is the new character we follow. We learned that Joseph had an affair with his wife, with, Josuke's mother. Josuke is the son of Joseph. And then Josuke's ability is Diamond something? Diamond Platinum? Or I don't remember the name. I know it involved diamonds though. And it could heal and reconstruct anything. Which is fucking insane. Like, I mean, literally anything. Break anything, reconstruct it, anything. Even like physical living things. Like, he does it to a human before and puts them into a rock, and that's how they live their life. Okuyasu, Josuke's best friend, but former enemy, his stand is the hand. Anything he swipes with his right hand disappears. Doesn't exist anymore. Fully just evaporates. Rohan, Heaven's Door, is fucking terrifying. He touches you, he shows you his manga, or he doesn't even, eventually he gets to the point where he doesn't even have to do anything, he can just activate it. It opens a gateway to your soul, and you can see everything about people's lives. You can also change that. You can erase their memories. You can, put, like Rohan multiple times, he says, cannot hurt Rohan Kishibe. And any attack they throw at him just automatically misses or hits back at them. Like, he's pretty much invincible. Then we also have Koichi. He's part of the main trio for this one, because the main trio is Josuke, Okuyasu, and Koichi. Koichi has Reverb, which has Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. Act 1 can put things like words and make that happen. So, like, if you put bouncy on, like, a spike, that spike will become bouncy and it just won't hurt you anymore. Act 2, I believe, just gets more combat, and because Act 1's not really a good combat and stand, it's more strategy. Act 3, though, fully combat, sends, like, punches, and the punches, the weight of them goes to you, and it pushes you down into the ground to where you can't move. We also have this alien guy. It's unconfirmed if he's actually an alien, or some guy pretending to be an alien, but he can shapeshift. There's, a lot of cool, like, horror aspects in Part 4. And the whole thing is, like, getting revenge on Yoshikage Kira, because a ton of kids were getting missing, and just people in general were going missing, and the town, they weren't doing anything about it, so they took matters into their own hands to kill Yoshikage Kira. They do succeed, they do almost fail, but they succeed because on his last breath, he gets hit by a fucking ambulance. That's how he dies. He does get really strong, though. He can control time. He basically has the ability of Groundhog's Day. Just, if you tell someone who I am, they die. If they figure out who I am by you, or who you are, they die. Oh, and you have to relive that over and over and over until he's satisfied. Or, like, until you do it correctly. It's fucked. Part 5. Part 3, 10 out of 10. Part 4, 8 out of 10. Because there was, like, a middle point that got a bit boring. Part 5, I'm gonna give it another 8 out of 10, honestly, because Part 5, I went in with extremely low expectations. I love Mafia stuff. The cast, super fun. A lot of them die. Narancia, Fugo, Bucciarati, Giovanna, or Gio. We're just calling him Gio for now. They call him that. There's a lot. Am I forgetting anyone? Oh, yeah, the one pink hair guy. Jazz, I think his name was. There's a lot of cool characters in that. And it was like a whole mafia thing with, a guy named Dio, but he wasn't named Dio necessarily. He was named something else. Giorno. Yeah, it was Giorno Giovanna was the main character. That's Dio's kid, which was interesting because it's not evil. He's not evil. Oh, Mista. How did I forget about Mista? Mista is my favorite. Oh my gosh. Okay, Diavolo. Diavolo. That guy. Yeah. So Diavolo, his fate was dying over and over and over and over and over and over. He could basically
Hello,
control.
guys.
What was that? What the fuck was that? Okay. Yeah, but no, his fate was dying over and over and over. Giorno put him in a time loop. He blacked out. He got golden requiem. Golden, I think golden something requiem. I'm not saying golden chariot. I know it's not golden chariot. No, 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 no. I'm thinking of something else. Because I'm thinking of silver chariot requiem, which comes into play. That was like an important thing. Because Pomerantz comes back in this part. And Jotaro comes back in part 4 and in this part. So does Koichi. Polmarath actually plays a big role in this. Polmarath does technically die. He becomes a turtle. He's not dead, but he's permanently a turtle now. And he doesn't have a stand anymore. Silver Chariot went on it went rogue. It went on a rampage because it had an arrow. They needed that arrow because the arrow basically gives people stand abilities who have, potential, like I said earlier. How I said earlier, that was going to come into play to be really important. Not only was it important in part 4, because that's how most of the stand users got their abilities, but it's really important, I was referring to now, in part 5, because that's what the Mafia was looking for. That's what Diavolo wanted, because he could be all powerful with it. Giorno's stand controls itself. Like, not even Giorno knows the full power of his stand, only the stand does. And, Diavolo. But part 5 was really fucked, because part 5 is another one of those parts, kind of like part 3, that they will get you connected to the characters. Like, they will make the characters super realistic for no reason. And kill them in the most gruesome ways. I'm not going to say much on part 5 and I'm going to say less, about part 6 because, the more recent, I don't want to spoil much. But part 5, I'd give an 8 out of 10. Part 6, the beginning of it, 7 out of 10. No, 6 out of 10. I'm going to be dead ass with you. I didn't really enjoy the beginning of part 6. Specifically the beginning, though. The part 2, because it's in parts. Part 1, part 2, part 3. Part 2 introduces FF. Toward the middle of part 1, they introduce FF. Once she gets introduced, it starts picking up a little more. Then there's a whole line of just boring shit. Then I think once we get halfway about part 2, it starts to get really fucking good and really interesting. And then, there's still an episode here or there that's kind of eh. Part 3, though. Part 3 of season 6. The final part of the show. Fuck. It was messed up. The main villain, probably, honestly, my favorite villain is Poochie. He's a corrupt priest who used to be best friends with Dio, and Dio told him the concept of a guaranteed way of gaining heaven, and the priest was corrupted by that, trying to get it. He succeeds. They do not win in this part. Jotaro's back. Then we have, Jotaro's daughter, the main character, Jolene. We have her friends, FF, Anastasia, which is a boyfriend. Or I guess technically husband. But that doesn't happen until way later. We have weather forecast. I think I said FF, and then we have Hermes. Oh, and Emporio. Emporio's a little kid that was stuck at the prison. Weather forecast, Poochie removed his memories and killed his love of his life. His love of his life was his sister. Poochie knew this because they're brothers biologically, so he didn't want, his brother's heart being torn apart and hurt from learning that. So he tried breaking them up, but he accidentally hired the KKK, and everything went wrong. Ever since then, Weather Forecast has been trying to off himself, and he has not been able to. Death just won't let him die. Then Anastasia. Weather Forecast, by the way, he controls the weather. Poochie, if he touches you, he can invert your body. He can steal your abilities and mix and match them with other people, or just take them for himself. Or your memories too. And he can also just turn off gravity on the Earth. Yep. Um, he's really fucking OP. And then, Jolene, she has Stone Ocean, which is matter. She can, like, turn her body into string and then also form it into, like, I guess a female version of Star Platinum. Then we have Hermes, which, if she puts a sticker on something, I think it's called Smack, it duplicates it, and then when she takes a sticker off, it goes back to normal, with the exception of damaging it. Um, so, like, if her arm, she does this, her arm gets cut off, she duplicates it, and it goes back in the socket, and she has her arm back, but it was painful. Um, oh yeah, Josuke can also heal people. He can heal people to just genuinely just fucking heal people. So can Giorno, but Josuke can heal people as long as they're not dead. Giorno can heal people as long as the wound isn't fatal. And Jolene, again, heal people as long as the wound isn't fatal. So can FF, though. But Jolene can only heal her own wounds, like scratches and stuff. FF can heal bigger wounds because she's just made out of shrimp. She's like an alien thing. And that's like literally just her power. She's just like a shit ton of shrimp. But she can also turn her gun into like a finger thing, like a finger gun, so that's pretty cool. Then weather forecast, like when I say he can control the weather, I mean like he can do whatever the fuck he wants with it. Um, Anastasia has diver drive, which can go and like merge into things as like a shield or just a ladder. Ton of different purposes for it. Um, Giorno, I didn't really go through the stands in part 5. Yeah, we'll go back for part 5. But they have some pretty cool stands. FF dies in the beginning of part 3, which sucks because she was my favorite character in that cast for a while. I also believe, yeah, Weather Forecast dies too later down the line. But Emporio, actually, they all die except for Emporio, this little kid, this little baseball kid that's been alone his whole life. Because the priest fast forwards time so much and beats the shit out of them from freezing time because he was so quick. Not even Jotaro could freeze time to keep up with him. They could have won too, but if they won, it would have been the price of Jotaro's daughter dying. And his, being a parent, his first thought was, oh my gosh, I need to save my daughter. So he pushed her out of the way of the danger. And ultimately that ended up in their demise. And because of that, they all died. Emporio, for some reason, survived. The world went to the end of the world, all the way to where the world ends. Recreates the Big Bang, creates the entire universe, Pucci does, to his liking, to his, peaceful will. And he says, you can't deny fate, blah, blah, blah. And he's just walking down a hallway chasing Emporio, saying, oh, I killed everyone else. Now you're just the only one left in my way. Let me kill you. And he's like, we're going to go into the ghost room. Emporio kills Pucci because he has weather forecast discs. Because it's revealed Jolene trusted Emporio, trusted him with weather forecast power. So he inserts it into himself because the discs are what hold the memory and the stands. This started off by Jotaro's stand in memory getting taken away, and they're trying to revive her father. And when he inserts that, he gets full control over weather forecast, the stand ability, and he ends up killing Pucci. Pucci's trying to manipulate him into not killing him. Emporio doesn't give a fuck anymore, and that creates a second Big Bang, where the resets the universe resets, but it resets as it should. Not everything's the same, and not everything's normal, but Pucci did technically win because everything is peaceful and successful. Everything is a utopia. In a way, everyone's kind of getting along. The group slowly, Emporio watches the group slowly form back together. not knowing who each other are, but he's crying because he knows he's the only one left. He's the only one alive. And that ends part 6. Everyone getting back together as they should because it was fate. And that made me genuinely tear up the first time I saw it. Now we're gonna go back a little bit to the Mafia stands. Characters like Giorno can just create life, or manipulate life in general. Jazz can rewind time, not physically, but as like, like he's watching a mixtape of time and see like what happened in the past and future. Bucciarati, he's a zipper man. He can just put a zipper on anything, including his own like limbs, and detach it and put it back together. He'll be fine. They got really creative in part 5 with the stands. Like there's a genuine, just one of the villains has a fishing pole that goes through walls, and if you get caught by it, you're guaranteed to be reeled back in for like the kill. Like it's, or like it'll go under your skin and like go to your arteries or your heart or something and rip it out. Like some of the stuff was brutal in part 5, like really brutal. Mista had like a gun, but it had living bullets, and the bullets had to eat, so he didn't eat because it's the embodiment of your soul. So he was always full. Fugo had this stand where it like emitted gas. It was basically just the Black Plague. Narancha had a bomber jet, like a bomber plane that could track heat signatures. There was some really cool, unique stuff in part 5. If you haven't watched JoJo, I would definitely recommend it, especially if you like just getting to know the characters well, or going on like goofy, crazy adventures where you really never know what's going to happen next. Like there were so many times I tried to predict what was going to happen next, because I'll do that with movies and shows sometimes. And I usually am decent with it. Like I'll get like a decent amount. Not once could I ever predict what was going to happen in JoJo. I would definitely recommend it. I cannot believe I held off on this show for as long as I did. Like genuinely. Because it was just the animation that was turning me off. But then I watched the show and damn, it turned me on. Because dude, it was so good. The story was good. The way the animation changes its color depending on the emotion of the scene. It's honestly beautiful scenery too. Like it's just a great show all in all. The characters are great. All the casts are unique and diversive. Um, the entirety of JoJo so far, because I know the full thing's not animated. I think I'm genuinely going to give it just all in all. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. And the only reason I'm not giving it a 10 out of 10, because I would. 2 reasons. One, I haven't watched the movies yet, even though they're not canon. I still want to check them out eventually. Maybe. I might not, though. That, and the main reason, the show isn't over yet. It is not over yet. So I do not want to give it a 10 out of 10 until the show is officially over. Once they animate all the other parts, though, and the show is officially out, then it'll probably be 10 out of 10, maybe even higher, as an excuse. But regardless, like I know the show is going to be a 10 out of 10 eventually. Like I know if I watch the movie, it's going to be, you know what? It's 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Go watch a JoJo. If you haven't watched it, go watch a JoJo. Because I would definitely recommend it. It is a very fun, very, very fun show. And with that, I will see you guys next time. I was not expecting this video to be as long as it was. Holy shit. Goodbye.